once again we have the onboard cameras, this time looking at Peter Holstenbein. I beg your pardon, looking at Thorsten Steffelhoff, I beg your pardon. Holstenbein at 7, Steffelhoff stroke. He's off a bit. Stroke is into the pool.
He's the Oxford president, and it's very unusual to have a president stroking the boat. That's going to think, because there's a lot of pressure on the president.
I mentioned this to him. He said, well, Rupert Upholster didn't do too badly in that role, but he was a very pugnacious character in the race, Upholster.
It's still a difficult job to do.
And unusual too, when they're straight off the bow side, led off the opposite side of the boat. I don't think that's happened very often before, has it, John? I think you know how experienced you are.
We did it in 1982 with the Capian in the boat. Not so straight with it.
I don't think Cambridge ever has.
Now they're passing their sweaters out of the boat into the straight boat. Also, they had very difficult preparation for the straight race. They lost their number 5 man, Adam Pearson, 10 days ago, and had to bring in left play. And then they lost confidence in their coaches, their chief coach, Mr. Pinto, and he was replaced by Fred Smallbone, who was taking them for the last 7 or 8 days. And they've certainly come along a little bit since then.
There's the ship. I was talking, in fact, to Richard Pinter this morning, and he said that he had a phone call from an old blue who said that a couple of them would like to buy him a drink. When he turned up, there were 14 old blues there buying a drink and to commiserate with him.
Let's say something. Cambridge, by contrast, have had a very smooth build-up. Everything's gone very, very smoothly for Cambridge. It's a very highly professionally run and managed machine.
This ship there, we were just seeing touching the Oxford Cruise. She topped in 1992. In 1992, when Oxford won, and she was credited very much with helping Oxford to that victory.
And French stations for that. They've been in French stations for the last 3 years now. She managed to, having started at Middlesex, she managed to, in fact, get her crew to go around the outside of the Surrey Bay.
On the station, they've chosen Middlesex, and Middlesex is quite a daring choice, but it does indicate that they are going to put all their eggs in one basket. They're going to go for the first 3 minutes and see if they can unsettle Cambridge. That's really their main hope. The main hope is to try and unsettle this extremely effective Cambridge crew. So look out for fireworks in this first 2 minutes.
These are the test moments, all the training, which is considerable. Some people talk about this being a race of tradition. It's certainly that, and very much part of the British calendar, though now involving the world both in oarsmen and in international interest. 150 million audience on television. But it's also a pursuit of excellence. The preparation would make many a sportsman blush. There's the umpire, John Garrett, who's had to change his launch. And he went out to fix the stake boat. The steering went in Scorpio, which was to be the umpire boat. He's now on Aquarius. He is the umpire who disqualified ISIS in the race of 1990. Tigani steered across, and he had no choice but to disqualify, he said. In spite of that, Kingsley Poole, who was in that race for ISIS, chose him from the selection presented to him by his opposite number president. He's going to change the procedure. If the cox's arm is up, it means that the cox is not happy. He's pointing in the right direction. But he tells them, as you probably heard there, he's going to say, "Are you ready? Go." Neither cox is ready. The tendency is to go on the word ready rather than go.
Well, there's a real problem when they have to square the blades up against the central tide. That's to pull away from the straight boats, and the chances are that they'll get a slightly faster start. So watch them square up and the boats move away from the moment they do so.
Fill the unforgiving minutes, justify all the months of preparation. And away we go. Cambridge at the top of the picture, Oxford at the bottom of the picture, the 140th boat race, and Oxford have got the start that they were hoping for.
Oxford got away very quickly there. They've got a couple of strokes in very quickly ahead of Cambridge, but Cambridge are getting into their stride, getting that length, perhaps rather better. But as we know, it's Oxford's only chance really is to try and keep with Cambridge now, try to rattle them and put them off their stride.
But look at the Cambridge rhythm already.
And in fact, Cambridge went off much higher and sharper at 44, 45 strokes a minute than they have in training, but they're already showing a short lead. Here we are, tremendous power, looking across now to Oxford, alongside them, but already slightly behind.
It's a momentary advantage for Oxford, but it really went in the fleeting of an eye.
Well, Cambridge changed gear there on the 15th stroke and have just moved ahead to a half-length lead. Now, Oxford on the inside of this corner must defend their water. This is all about attacking and defending. Oxford must defend the water. They must try and hold on here as they come up to this first bend, which is in their favour, around the Fulham football ground.
And Cambridge have got to face up to slightly rougher water on the station there, and so what we'll see, hopefully, is good clean rowing by Cambridge, holding off an Oxford attack, which must come in the next minute.
Well, it took them little more than 2 minutes to get clear water 12 months ago, and they look on course to do that again.
So they've got 3/4 of a length. They are moving very, very sweetly as they come past the Black Boy. That's a minute, just over a minute gone, and it's nearly a length. Cambridge on the outside here, moving into the rough water as they come towards the Fulham Bend. And you can already see there's water flying off the riggers of the Oxford boat. As they come past us, it's Cambridge now, just about a length up. Oxford must hold on to this corner, otherwise they are lost.
Wonderful clarity of rowing by Cambridge, it has to be said. A look over the shoulder from Kingsley Poole.
And yes, you can see that the Oxford are doing their best. They've settled into a good rhythm, but Cambridge are rowing superbly. Great length, and right over the top of this rough water, making it look much easier.
Coming up towards the Fulham football ground.
Oh, the beauty of this Cambridge crew with the run, you can already see how the boat is running between the strokes. Just watch the stern of the boat as they come towards us here. There's very little check as they pick up the tack. Very accurate, and the blades really picking in. The blades picking it up absolutely at the full length where they reach, and they've got clear water. Oxford now in all sorts of trouble. They've got clear water, Cambridge, on the outside of the bend, and Oxford have lost their advantage as they come into the straight along the milepost.
And all the statistics of the Cambridge boat in preparation being shown to be accurate. It was thought to be a faster and stronger boat than 12 months ago. And look at the cleanness of the oars, the quality of the finish in particular.
Extraordinary how smooth they managed to row. They're trying to make the boat run as smoothly and easily as possible at all points of the straight. There's been a tendency in recent years for these very strong athletes to rather brutalise the boat and bash it along. But this crew goes with smoothness and ease, and I think we'll have an opportunity further down the course to look more closely at the quality of their technique. Look how very easy it is. They've rowed a good length, half a length further than Oxford, and still a length and a half cut up.
It's worth looking at the way the blades pick up the water. There is a tendency in British rowing to hammer the tack very, very hard. But here, they are very, very quick, but they just make sure that they're connected before they use the length for the left drive of the stroke. But now they've got a quarter of a length.
This is the view that at least Skip will see the Oxford top, Cambridge disappearing. And we are still well into the early part of Capsea Reach. At the top there is the Harris depository. And now this is what Cambridge can see. They look back at the pylons of Fulham football ground and they can see their water increasing between them and adversaries.
In the boat race, that is a sight for sore eyes. That's the sort of sight that you want, but you don't usually get it until much later in the race. The measure of this crew is how fast and they moved away off the first
This is
minute.
a fantastic feeling and confidence race. It's a tremendous amount to have got.
Milepost times, 3:58 for Cambridge, 4:03, difference of 5 seconds. The record is 3:31, but as we said at the start, it is choppy in this area of the course, so you couldn't have expected the time that Cambridge equalled last year with the match this year.
Oxford are holding quite well. I mean, their advantage has gone on the inside of that first bend. It's now coming up for Cambridge's big advantage around the Hammersmith bend, which goes on for about 3.5 to 4 minutes. It's worth 3/4 of a length. But Oxford actually have settled themselves into a rhythm, and Cambridge haven't moved all that much in the last minute and a half.
I think it's really a question now whether Cambridge are going to try and extend this gap, if they're really going to try and race this the whole way. There is a temptation always when you've opened up so fast, so quickly, just to relax a little bit. And certainly now it'll be possible for Oxford to tug in behind them and reduce the advantage of the Surrey bend.
There's nearly a length of clear water now. About a length of clear water they come to Harrods, the positive. In fact, opening up to a length and a half of clear water. And Cambridge, in that lovely loose rhythm, that stylish rhythm that they have, you can see the distance between the puddles. Watch the stroke and seven as they put their blades in the water, and you see they are what we call caning as they pop their blades in behind the bowman's puddle and the crewman's puddle. That's effective rowing.
Now looking back, there is Harrods Depository, which is a mile and a quarter, just a little more along the course. And Cambridge, you can see the gap to yourselves with the sun glistening on the water, and one would think on the faces, metaphorically, of the Cambridge crew. Harry Macmillan, I was just thinking a year ago, he's the bowman in the Oxford boat. A year ago he listened to the boat race on World Service while building a wall in Tuscany. He must feel he's building another wall now.
Well, it's finding everyone, I think.
So Cambridge are at 33.5 strokes a minute. That's a good, comfortable row here for them. They're probably having to work still into this headwind. As soon as they come through under the bridge, they'll probably squeeze away. Oxford a tip and a half higher, 1 stroke and a half a minute higher, still trying to hang on, trying to get back into the race. They're coming up to Hammersmith Bridge. There's a crucial timing point for us and also a crucial point for the boat race crew. This is the beginning of the big bend, and this is where Cambridge will be able to use their full advantage.
So they choose the central arc. There are all sorts of theories about where the cock should point, but you talk to most of the boatmen, they would tell you to react to the tide as it is, and provided you're in the good water that's there at low tide, you're comfortable enough.
The point is that the tide is relatively narrow. The band of the tide is barely wide enough for those two boats, which is why the cock has gone alongside and to fight so hard to retain the maximum benefit. Cambridge are well away now. It must be at least 3-4 lengths between the crews.
John Garrett, the umpire, is certainly going to have no problems this time, but they have a whole lot of problems. Joe Michaels, as is his wont, they're rowing at 3, looking over his shoulder, but he's going to have to strain his neck quite a lot to actually see the opposition. Andrew Gordon Brown in front of him, Richard Clegg, then the Norwegian brothers, and the President's Stroke, Kingsley Poole. Hammersmith times, Cambridge 7:12, Oxford 7:20. Very similar to last year. It's gone up from 5 seconds to 8 seconds. The record, for the record, 6:21, but this isn't about records today. This is about quality rowing in, up to this point, by no means easy conditions.
Well, now the conditions have really turned in their favour. The wind, they've moved round the corner here, and from now on, the water will be getting better and better. And this is where we're going to have a chance to see the Cambridge crew at their very best. Is this one of the best crews, Chris, do you think, that we've ever seen in the boat race? I think it is.
I think so. On pedigree alone, it's amazing. When you think the Stern pair are current world champions from the German age, Thorsten Stepperhoff and Peter Holzenbein. Then a British international, Matthew Parrish, an American, John Bernstein, Richard Phelps, another British international. And the great key to their rowing is that they're actually capable of rowing together as a crew. That's the big distinction, really, with Oxford, where it's always tended to be 8 individuals. Last year it was most marked. They had a remarkable pedigree with our last year's crew, but never combined. So this year the Cambridge crew has got tremendous cohesion, and it began with the quality of their coaching team, led by Harry Mann, actively supported by the Nottingham team of John Wilson and Sean Bowden. Three people who speak with one voice when it comes to technical coaching.
So they're approaching Chiswick 8. The start of it is 2.25 miles down the course, and the two Germans thoroughly enjoying themselves. They've had to adapt a little bit.
They've had to do. They've had to adapt. They were telling me the other day that they tend in their West German to hit the catch very, very hard, and they've had to soften it down, make sure that they're more accurate and much quicker to pick up that very good rhythm that Cambridge have been setting down. The Cambridge are now at about 33.5 strokes a minute. Still that metronomic rate, which is very, very effective for them. Oxford has sagged down to 31, and that really is an indication of how difficult this first 2 miles has been. Oxford did everything they possibly could to hold on to Cambridge, but there was just nothing really that they could do. Cambridge out in front. Tendency perhaps would be to take it a little bit easy now and enjoy it, but they're not letting up here. They want to try and make this as big a distance as they can, very keen to show what a good crew they are. You can see how accurate those blades are as they pick up the water at the full reach. Very good swing together, back to the backstop, very good speed of the hands around the turn. All of those things allowing the boat to run without any stress. It's a very, very nice looking crew.
And when you think that they've actually beaten every crew they come up against, the very best crews they face against, crews which contain our Olympic champions, their great intentions and the crew selves. Now, I believe this has very serious implications for the future of British rowing, because they're really showing how to row A4 boats really effectively, something that we haven't actually done very well for the last 4 or 5 years in this country. And I think that is something that hopefully all British rowing can look at. So this is the future of A4 rowing.
And I think that for all the fact that Oxford are increasingly in the wake of Cambridge, Kingsley Poole said to me that his first intention when he was voted in as president was to get a prettier looking crew, to get the technical side of it worked out, because he felt that it was a very untidy crew last year. But he hasn't been able to get the power, it would seem.
Well, I don't know. This is not a bad Oxford crew by any means. There are some very good people in it. They've had not a bad year. They have the 2 Norwegians in the stern of the boat who came 7th in the world at the Olympics and in the World Championship. This is not a bad crew. It is just that Cambridge is a spectacular crew. And in many other years, this Oxford crew would have been an impressive looking boat. So technically, it is something that they did work for technique all through their winter training. Something that they did look for. They are up against it.
This Cambridge crew really would not disgrace an Olympic final. I think if you saw them in the Olympic final, you'd rate them for a medal. Of course, bearing in mind they're multinational participants that never will be. But a wonderful view out of a sunlit tideway. Something they've not seen much of, I have to say, in the last fortnight when they've been turning up here. It's been very windy in the preparation period, but all sunlight in the day used to Cambridge.
Conditions on third race day for the public, and now in this area of the course for the oarsmen, absolutely ideal. The times that Chiswick set, they've just passed Cambridge 11:12, Oxford 11:28. The gap now is 16 seconds.
Yes, that's about 5 lengths, normally about 2 seconds a length on the tideway. So Cambridge are not resting on their laurels, they're determined to push it out.
Well, I know that during the practice, seen them up at Nottingham and on the Tideway, there's a common call of payback time amongst the Cambridge crew. They've had to live until last year with the spectre of defeat. They rid themselves of that, and now they're proving to themselves that they are the very best. It will be a 71st win in this 140th race, and it will be a win which will be down in the record book and remembered as being a real quality performance. Just a couple of words, chaps, about the cleaver blade. There's been a little bit of talk about the problems of the small of the back.
Well, there certainly have been some serious injuries to a number of really quite well-known and aspiring athletes. I think it's more a question of how they're used rather than the blades themselves. Viewers may remember that Oxford chose not to use them last year, and Cambridge did. Cambridge have adapted a style which is remarkably efficient with these big blades. They stick the big blade in and then use the leverage of the blade to help them. The British style which Dan talked about, the tendency to hit the catch, can be disrupted both to the boat run and indeed to the back.
And also the crews are spending more and more time on the water all the time, and that combination with more time on the water is putting a lot of pressure on their back.
And there they are, approaching Barnes Bridge, and we can look back, John Wilson alongside Harry Mahon with the red cap on the left, and behind them there Roger Stevens and just half hidden James Berens, who was the president last year in the crew which stopped the rocks. The Justice Brothers the year before, I think started the build-up for Cambridge, it should be said.
Very satisfying for coaches sitting in the front of the launch there watching their crew go ahead, but also very tense. You always feel that something will go wrong just in those last 2 or 3 minutes, and you just don't want to relax until they cross the line.
Now, what would you know about that?
It's always been a good feeling now, but you never ever dare relax, and you're begging your crew not to let up, not to eat at all.
They might be begging you at Oxford to come back if this continues.
Yes, I think Cambridge will be more unhappy. They keep going to the apology box. But tremendous credit to the Cambridge coaches. They've had this remarkable team. One of the interesting things really was when they brought together Harry Mahon with Sean Bowden and John Wilson from Nottingham, with how well they've worked together. And really, sometimes you can get two coaches who don't quite speak the same language, but these two, from the opposite sides of the world, make tremendous music together.
Harry Mahon is going back to New Zealand. Sean Bowden says he wants to go fishing, and John Wilson, I think, is going back to it. So it may be that there'll be a change around in the coaching team, both at Oxford and at Cambridge in the next 30 years. But there, on this perfect water, this is a chance really to see what Cambridge can do.
Well, it's a picture that should be recorded all around the country as an example of this is how you row in an eight.
It's don't think because it looks easy, but it is easy. These are 16 athletes who have been day after day pushed to the point of total collapse, and sometimes beyond that, in order to win and row in this race, where only honour is at stake. It's a wonderful, if curious tradition that people will still dedicate so much of their lives to achieve just that.
Yes. Let's check on the times at Barnes Bridge. 15:07 for Cambridge, 15:23 is the time for Oxford. So they have maintained the quality all the way through. Roger Taylor at bow, who sets it up and sits it up, as being the feeling amongst the rest of the crew. Poor Dirk Baggett, who could have found a seat in a number of places, lost out in the end. Will Mason at 2, Sinclair Gore, powerman, as indeed is Richard Phelps, who will be there again next year. Will Mason, then Phelps, John Bernstein, who's lived with a lot of pressure this year, the president.
Oxford fighting back. They've gone up to 36 strokes a minute. They're a long way down, but they're not giving up. They're really fighting back. They're up to 36 strokes a minute. Cambridge at 34. There's Kingsley Poole in the stroke suit. Snorri Lorgan sitting behind him, and they are working it, trying to build it on this water. And they won't give best, but they're way back. Cambridge there, just coming up towards the finish. You can see them well up just there on the bridge in the distance. And there they are coming up to the finishing line.
So Cambridge, for the first time for 21 years, are coming towards the finish, knowing that they've won 2 consecutive boat races. There was certainly a feeling that they had to prove that last year was not one-off, but the start of a run. Well, they've got the run to 2 races, and they've improved on the quality of rowing provided by last year's crew. Enormous credit to their coaches and to the crew, who now cross the line as winners of the 140th boat race. Brilliant performance. Oxford battling their way through as Cambridge take the applause from the side of the tideway. Oxford now coming to finish. Very tired, very disappointed, but as is always the case in the boat race, every man giving his all for no reward, as you said, Chris, just for the glory of taking part.
Well, it happened very quickly, didn't it? A minute, Cambridge are nearly